Hello, everybody, and we've arrived at our last session for the day with the fantastic Lynsey from Social Bee, and we've got a bite-sized masterclass on how to make the most of your social media for virtual events. Handing over to you, Lynsey.
Thanks, Tarika. Well done on getting through 2 days of virtual event to the amazing guys who have organised it and also for you attending. I've been keeping an eye on things over the last couple of days and clearly lots of insight in a different world we're in today. So what I want to share with you today is how to make the most of social media in promoting your event, engaging your virtual event, and actually getting bookings on your virtual event. We're in a totally different world today, and I don't need to tell anybody who's here today how the world has changed. We've all been there and living it on a daily basis. And events like no other have been really, really affected. I would normally be traveling around the world, talking at all different events at the moment, but instead I'm here in lovely, quiet Norfolk, where I live, delivering events all over the world. And obviously that has huge consequences to your industry, but it also has huge advantages. And probably the biggest advantage I've seen with the virtual event side of thing is actually, I was asked to talk at an event a couple of months ago where it was actually on for 24 hours. So literally it was a global event where they were going around all of the timeframes, and it had 100,000 people attend. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think there's any venue, these guys might be able to say, there's no venue that can actually hold 100,000 people. So actually, in terms of the opportunities, there are opportunities out there and people are very empathetic to what's going on. So hopefully over the next 30 to 35 minutes, I want to share with you guys some actionable hints and tips of how you can use social media to promote, engage, and get bookings on your event. Because social media isn't just an afterthought, as often I see it in events. It is a key part of engaging with your target audience. And now more than ever before, that is absolutely key. So before we get cracking, I just want to share with you just a quick insight about myself. So I'm an international digital marketing strategist. I spend my life normally traveling the world doing training, doing work with clients, and we've worked with a broad set of organizations from B2B, B2C, including lots of events, venues, and hospitality sector. And I always say you could take us to a pub quiz, obviously a virtual one at the moment, and we'd answer some really random questions. So if you have any virtual pubs quiz coming up, then feel free to get in touch. But that's enough about me. What I want to share with you guys today is some actionable takeaways that you can hopefully implement within your organization, because you've learned lots of things over the last couple of days and also had some amazing fun. I mean, who'd have thought that you'd be doing yoga, HIIT classes and making cocktails at an event where you have that advantage in today's conference. So in terms of what I want to leave you with today is I'm all about giving value. So lots and lots of hints and tips. And if you have any questions at all, please do drop them in the chat and Sarika will ask me at the end. So no questions too silly, please feel free to ask. But what you are hopefully going to walk away today is planning a social media campaign for a virtual event, using the best features that social media can offer, and also creating urgency around promoting events. Because what I often see on social media is examples of just our event is taking place on this day, book now. Now, that might used to have worked when it comes to online marketing, when you have physical events, but people's lives have changed and the way people attend events has changed. We have the advantage now that we don't need to leave the comfort of our homes to be able to attend event. And when we were in mass lockdown, we were seeing a huge amount of people wanting to learn because they were furloughed and their kids were at school at the time and they were wanting to learn a lot. So we were seeing a huge amount of bookings for events and things. And now what I've seen, and this is only my personal view, is lots of people they are attending events, but actually they're watching the recorded sessions later because their kids are now back at school and they're still working from home, but now they're working. We have a lot more stresses and strains on us. Now things have loosened a little bit. But in terms of marketing, it isn't just social media. There are a huge amount of platforms out there. So before I move into social media, I just want to give you an oversight in terms of how powerful social media is and what you should be thinking about when it comes to your virtual event. So with any virtual event, ultimately you want people to book. So whether it's a paid event or a paid thing you're doing, it might be a very small wedding thing. It could be a mass thing about national trust, or a big virtual event where you're trying to get loads of consumers coming. Anything goes in today's world, because if you used to be able to do it physically, now you can't. It's virtual, whether you're a huge venue, an event, or whether it's a much more intimate size thing. But in terms of whatever you're trying to do, you need to be driving people to your website and giving them clear call to actions. Because as you can see on the screen in front of you, everything points to your website. Now, your website needs to be the best salesperson. It should be working 24/7 as the best salesperson you could ever have. And if you want to know what my 8 tips are for the best website, then if you head over to our website, we've got another just 30-minute webinar you can watch in your own time. But if that isn't set up correctly, you can be driving great traffic from social media or search engine optimization or your email marketing. But if you're not wearing the customer's shoes, and I'm going to come onto that shortly, and not thinking about clear call to actions, then people will just come onto your website and leave. And especially in today's world where people are going to want to know if they were attending your event or planning to attend your event or whatever you were doing in a physical sense, actually, how are they going to get the value in a virtual sense? And I've got an example I'm going to show you later, because there's an organization who we're currently working with, and they've got the biggest database in the world for their sector. And normally they just email out, and people have always attended their physical events. And a lot of people attend their physical events for networking. And if you went on their website, you would go, well, why am I going to attend now? Because a big part of that was networking. So it's about highlighting how your event is changing and how you're dealing with that, and then the clear call to action of booking. But before I move on to social media, there's something I really want to just highlight to people and actually get back to the fundamentals, because there's 2 really important factors when it comes to online marketing. Now, just park the organization or the event or the venue that you work for at the minute and just think about you as a human being. Now, as you as a human being, whenever you have a problem, a challenge, or you want to find out something, where do you go? 9 times out of 10, I'm guessing you're probably thinking to yourself, well, Lynsey, I go to the internet, whether it's on your phone or whether it's on your laptop. We turn to Google, or we turn to Bing, or we turn to YouTube. And we know that if we type a question to something, they will often will get the answer. Whether it's true or not is a different matter. But as human beings, we go onto the internet to get an answer for something. Now, in a traditional sense, if the answer was, oh, okay, if you want to find out about how to book your wedding or thinking about wedding venues, then this is the event for you. Now, obviously, that can't be done at the moment. So just park that thought for a second. The second thing is now putting your commercial hat on and thinking about your commerciality within your organization. So your goal is probably, okay, we've got this event happening this year, or we've got this venue. How can we get people to it? Now, most organizations, and this is the orange spot on the left-hand side, most organizations will think, okay, well, we have access to the internet, and theoretically it's free if we want to do it all ourselves. Let's think about how we commercialize that. So let's tell everybody about our venue and just say it's the best venue in Norfolk, or it's the best event you're going to see this side of the equator, or As organizations, 9 times out of 10, organizations from the smallest ones in the world that I work with to some of the largest are missing a trick. They're too busy thinking about what they're trying to achieve and not putting their customers' shoes on, or their potential customers' shoes on, and thinking about what problem actually can our venue or our event or our solution actually help people with. They're too commercial about it. They go on with a sales mindset. So the real success with any online marketing, and this isn't just to do with venues and events, it's to do with anything you do with online marketing, is thinking about your overall organizational objectives, but then wearing your customers' shoes and thinking about trying to find that sweet spot in the middle. And what I mean by that is thinking about, okay, how can, if that person is searching and they've got a problem and they don't know we exist as a venue or an event or as an agency like us, what are the problems that they're having, or what solutions are they trying to find that we can actually appear for and actually engage with them? That's where the magic happens. And this is where I see many organizations totally missing out on that. Because when it comes to online marketing in any sense of the word, and marketing as a whole, people are, when they see one social media post or one email from you, they're not going to go, wow, I'm going to book that, unless they've been attending for years, they really love your event or their venue, or they know, like, and trust you already. If it's a new type of audience you're trying to engage with, or one that's maybe, you've not engaged hugely with, generally people need 7 touch points before they commit to something. Now, those 7 touch points are not just online marketing things. They could be, a physical meeting or a networking event where they're possible, could be seeing an ad to something, could be seeing your logo, could have attended a webinar like this, could have had a phone call, could have heard word of mouth. So generally, one thing in isolation is not going to convert people into doing something. However, that said, there are some really good opportunities to do that. So what I want to do now is just share with you some good and bad examples, and then share how to make them better. Now, for this example here, I've covered up the logo because I didn't want to, I don't like to name and shame. This is a social media post that had been shown in my profile. So on LinkedIn, it appeared in my newsfeed down the middle. It's promoted. It's a bit blurry on here, but it is a promoted post. And this company has basically said, we've got this date. Here's our event. Why not book? It's too broad. There's no thinking about actually what was my challenge as a CEO of a digital marketing agency at the moment. How are you trying to entice me based on the problems that I probably have right now? So the content is really too broad in my view. Then you've got this example. Now, this is an event that is traditionally run in a physical capacity every year. And when COVID happened, this company quickly adapted and said, right, okay, we need to adapt. Now, this post was seen in my Facebook profile, and this isn't just a social media post. This is, and this isn't just an ad either. So this, excuse me, this appeared in my Facebook profile. It is a promoted ad. But it hasn't just been shown to me because of some signals I've given off. This has been shown to me because I had visited the website. So I had an email from them and I was like, oh, okay, that sounds interesting. Let me visit the website. And because I visited the website and I didn't do anything, they have retargeted me. And if you care to read the ad, it is quite detailed, but actually because it is very detailed, it's very specific, it's very targeted, I am much more likely to sign up for this virtual event because it's thinking about, they know as CEOs at the moment, we've got 3 challenges as they see it from their view. And if you want to know what the 3 challenges are and how to address these, then attend this event. And they've talked about here, here, and here. So it's very good. It's very specific. And although it doesn't highlight the fact actually it's virtual, it sort of doesn't matter because at this stage, they're just ticking the difference in terms of actually, we know how you're feeling at the moment. And if you think about those 2 circles, they're definitely ticking the box in terms of that sweet spot in the middle, in terms of achieving their business objective of trying to get people to their event, but also wearing their customers' shoes and thinking, okay, how can I speak the language of my target audience right now, regardless of what they are? In terms of content with social media and just online marketing in general, as I touched on earlier, generally you need to have around 7 or 8 touch points before people to commit to things. And this is one of our examples, one of our own examples. And when it comes to engaging with people and nurturing them into doing something, you don't always have to think about trying to get them to book something straight away. If you give value away, so it could be blog content, video content, interviews with speakers that you've got coming up. If you give value away, people are much more likely to then sign up for it, engage with it, and then that's one touch point you're further along the journey to then, if you then email them and say, if you enjoyed this, then actually we've got this coming up, why not think about booking, whether it's, a venue or an event point of view. The other opportunity you have is the FOMO, so frightened of missing out. Now, this is a zoo, it's Chester Zoo, in fact. And obviously I've classed them as a venue because it is a destination, as it were. And obviously you can have birthday parties there, weddings, and obviously it's a destination in terms of hospitality and tourism. But, they can't turn things virtual very easily. And because when COVID first happened, they had to adapt quickly. And it was great to see things like this staying front of mind. And obviously they're not charging for stuff like this, but they're making sure they're staying front of mind. They're giving away value. And they know that actually, joining us live to actually see these animals and creating this urgency to actually see life in action and actually see behind the scenes. So probably very likely see things that you might not have even seen if you were actually to go and attend that venue, as it were, or event. Something else you need to bear in mind in social media is actually share with people how things are going to be different. And this is one of the examples I sort of touched on earlier. This is an event that had always happened in a physical event, was always very well attended, and now it's virtual. And they didn't just say, this is what we've got coming up, but actually, this is how things are going to work virtually. So it's about being transparent, being upfront, and not just thinking it's just virtual now. As someone that's going to be attending that event, what does that feel like? What does that look like before? It might be a free event, but actually still, how am I going to benefit? Because although it's free, I still have a lot of time pressures on me as a delegate, and I might have, 101 things that my colleagues ask me to do, and yet I still want to attend this event. So I don't have to travel now, but actually, am I still going to get the same value of it? So actually just highlighting that and making that front of mind and, saying how that's going to happen is really, really valuable. So hopefully I've just shared some good and bad examples with you, but I now want to move on to actually how can you think about that in a more detailed way. So what I've done is I've created sort of an imaginary example for you. When it comes to online and selling, whether it is venues, events, or anything else for that matter, people are very much in the focus of, if people see me on a social media post or a Google ad or an email, I want them to, I want to sell to them, and I want to sell to them now. And again, if you put your own shoes on in as a consumer capacity for a minute, how many of you actually have that raging intent to do something there in that moment? If you're thinking about, and this is not a venues and events example, but if I'm thinking about when I get home, my little boy's run out of nappies and I need to order some nappies online, my intent is absolutely like right up there, like I need to order nappies now. But if I'm thinking about, okay, how I have buy-to-let properties, and I'm thinking about I've got a problem with my tenant, my intent is still increased. I've got a problem and I need a solution to it, but what could that solution be? I don't need to sort it today. So I might be doing various sets of investigation. And this is where this framework is really, really powerful. So this is a framework that is very different from what you traditionally see in terms of a marketing funnel, in terms of awareness, consideration, and purchase. This almost like throws it out of the window. And I'm just going to chat through it because it's a really powerful framework if you choose to adopt it. And it does take time, but it's still a very hugely powerful framework. So this framework has come from Google, and it's called See, Think, Do, Care. And in terms of businesses, how they tend to market online, they're all about the do. So the do is very much focused on people that want to do something today. But if you think about it in whatever venue or event you have that you're holding, like how many people are like actually Googling I was talking at a retail conference last week, attending a retail conference or retail conference. Like we're not always in that mindset, but if we are the target audience, so if we are a retailer, what challenges do retailers have at the moment? Retailers have a whole host of challenges at the moment. So thinking about what their problems would be and creating content for that. So I've brought it to life here in this example. If you get a copy of my slides, you'll be able to read it in more detail because it's a little bit blurry on my screen here. It might be crystal clear on yours, but I'm just going to walk you through each element. In this example, I have created this theoretical example of a target audience, and this is a buy-to-let conference. So this is a landlord conference, which does actually happen. So these are people that buy properties and rent them out. They're called landlords. It's called a landlords event. So there's lots of landlords events that happen around the UK and other parts of the world, and they are targeted at people that rent out property. Now, first of all, people that rent out property are very hard to target because they don't have it in their job description. There's a lot of accidental landlords out there. So for people trying to target those people, it can be really, really hard. But actually, this framework is a very powerful way to target those people. So let me just explain it for you. So the C is people that are actually giving out the signals that they are that target audience. So they're people that are looking online for inspiration, education, and thoughts and ideas around problems they have. So here is an example. It's people who own buy-to-let property. So people who own buy-to-let property will often be doing searches on the internet for how to rent my property out. Do I need a gas certificate? Do I need a tenancy certificate? Do I need insurance for my property? They are all great examples of content that this event could be creating online to make people aware of that event early on in the conversation. So they're people that weren't even looking for an event, whether it be physical or virtual, but actually through giving them information when they're searching for it or targeting them based on ads, you can make them aware of your event in the first instance. That's almost like the awareness piece. Then when they've done that, they might be thinking about, and the next step of that, they might be thinking about, okay, well, how can I become a better landlord? So how can I improve my knowledge on being a better landlord? So maybe I don't want to use letting agents anymore. Again, I might be doing some research. So again, by inspiring, educating, and informing people. And if they've landed on your website in terms of the C stage, they might think, well, that's great content. I'm going to sign up to their newsletter. So by signing up to their newsletter, following you on social media, When you then do have an event, first of all, you can email them and they're going to go, wow, actually, I found their content really useful. And actually, this person here wrote that blog that I found really useful. And I can see that he or she is speaking at this virtual event. I'm going to attend this event because actually I learned a lot from the stuff they gave away to me for free. So this is a free event or paid event. And even if it's a paid virtual event, if they can see the value, then they're much more likely to sign up from that point of view. So then you've got the do, and that makes the do very easy from that point of view. And then you have the care. So people that have been attending this event for many years, venues and events live, it's been going on for a number of years and very successful. They'll be avid fans from that point of view. So in terms of your email list, you can email them. If they visit your website and they don't book, also you can then show them a remarketing ad. But it's really thinking about putting the user's shoes on in any terms. And this is just one very small, quite commercial example. But even if you're a small wedding venue or a restaurant, thinking about what people are searching in and how can you give them value to make them aware of you in the first place. Because awareness, consideration, and convert only generally works if someone is aware of your organization or your event in the first place. And the landlord example here, I often use it because I used to work in that sector many years ago. And in terms of landlord events and landlord associations, people are really not aware of them. I think when I was working in that sector, there were 1.2 million landlords in the UK. And when I was talking at events like this way back when, there'd be very small amount of landlords turn up to them. And when I spoke to other landlords I knew in the industry, I said, did you know there's events going on, or do you know about associations? They didn't. So it's a very small percentage because the way the marketing was done was very focused on, if you're looking for an event, you'll find us. But actually, if you're not, then you haven't got any hope of being found online, as it were. So hopefully that just gives you another way of thinking about how you can be really successful with your events. But that links me nicely on to actually creating a plan. And when it comes to online marketing, and in particular social media, you absolutely need a plan. I've seen lots of organizations and events go, we've never used social media before. We just generally post and talk about our event. But it's a really missed, underutilized resource from a marketeer's point of view. Because when I used to work in marketing before digital marketing was around, you had to say, okay, well, let's advertise in this newspaper or this magazine. And those things should absolutely still remain. But actually, you don't have to go, we think these people read this magazine. Actually, you know who and what people are doing online now. So it's about how you use those tactics and how you create a plan of getting in front of your target audience through the See, Think, Do, Care, but also then attracting that audience in the first place, following that option, then engaging with them. So attracting them on the right channel, the right audience at the right channel at the right time, then engaging with them. So actually being useful for them and actually driving them into action. But in terms of this attract, engage, and convert, something I would just give a caveat to is that convert doesn't necessarily mean book to attend your, have a look at your venue today or your restaurant or your event. It could be just nurturing them. And as I said earlier, it generally takes about 7 touch points for people to book. So even if you have, even if your event is, April, May next year, you should be doing this content now because people are not waiting for your event to find the answers to something. And actually, if they're landing on your website now and they go, wow, that's really interesting, convert could be signing up to your email newsletter or signing up following you on social media. So just think about attract, engage, and convert as a theory to follow. Think about that drives real success with online marketing and social media. The real success with online marketing is very much about listening. So social media, I've seen lots of businesses do some amazing work on social media, don't get me wrong, but most businesses think, oh, social media, we need to post. Yes, we do absolutely need to post, because if we're just on there hanging around and not posting anything, then people aren't going to know what we're talking about or what we're trying to get them to do. But the most powerful thing you can use social media for is listening. I always say you're much better to listen much more than you talk on social media, because there's a huge amount of data that is available on social media that you can then reflect on and actually then create content that is focused on your audience. So my top little tips here are listen to your audience, and I'm going to show you very quickly how to do that. Actually ask them, and I know these amazing guys here today will be asking you what are your challenges at the moment? How can we help you better, et cetera, et cetera. And actually just listening in terms of telephone conversations as well. So there's a venue I'm working with at the moment. They're a wedding, golf and spa venue. And they said, oh, we want an audit of our channels. And I was like, right, okay, what's your strategy? And they're like, well, we do a lot of golf stuff, but we're thinking about we need to do this and this. And I was like, okay, well, I can do a lot of data research online, and I will do a lot of data research online. But I also want involved in our strategy session is the receptionist, the lady or the man who heads up the spa section, and also the guy in the golf section that talks to the golfers all day. And they're like, why? And I'm like, they talk to the actual customers you're trying to target. So they have got a fantastic amount of data and insight up here that I want to tap into. So listening isn't just online. Listening is very much in a physical sense of the word. So if you have, if you're a venue and you have people on the phone, taking inquiries and stuff, just go and listen to those conversations and see what people are asking right now. Because if it is a virtual or physical event, then people have different concerns to what they perhaps did before. But there's also some tools you can do to listen online as well, and I want to share these with you. So in terms of listening online, there's a huge amount of tools out there. You have Google Analytics, so you can have a look at your own Google Analytics and see what the top pages people are visiting on your website and the top content. You can also use, excuse me, Google predictive text. So always think about wearing the customer's shoes when you're doing this process. So wear your customer's shoes and thinking about, okay, what do we think their challenges are at the moment? Or what are the things they really want to know that actually we can help them with, whether it be our venue or our event? So thinking about it from that point of view. And then you can go in your Google Analytics and see what are the top pages they're visiting, top blog content they're visiting. Start to type in the questions that you think they might type in. Maybe you've spoken to your receptionist, or at your venue, spoken to the people that normally speak to the people you're talking to. Ask them what questions people are asking at the moment, and don't change the language to that. Like, don't put it in your own words. Literally write it down as they say it, and then go into Google or Bing and start to type that question. And what Google does is it brings up the results in the order of actually what people are typing in. Now, that piece of content there is blog content, video content, podcast content, social media content, and all of that content can help attract your audience to your website to make them aware of your venue, your event, or your destination, as it were. You also have the Google keyword tool. You also have the Google Trends tool, and you also have Answer the Public. Now, Answer the Public is probably one of my favorite tools. It's a free tool. Just Google it, Answer the Public. And again, you just type in a question. So you could type in, I think I've typed something in here, something about tenancy agreements. I've just literally typed in tenancy agreements, I think, because again, thinking about that see, think, do, care example I shared with you, I'm thinking about the landlord and what that person would be thinking about, what challenges that person might have or questions that person might want to answer. Type in tenancy agreement, and then I get the answers. So Answer the Public is up to date in terms of it's gone out to the internet and said, what are people typing in at the moment? And you can do that based in the UK. You can pick other countries. Another tool worth looking at is Spark Toro, SPARKTORO. You get 10 free searches a month. And in there, you can type in, ask what people are talking about the most. So I typed in yesterday, people are talking about virtual estate agency. And I could see that people that talked about that subject were looking at this social media channel, they were listening to this podcast. So in terms of the insight it gives me in terms of the things that people are talking about, listening to, that I can then recreate onto my own website, onto my own social media channels to actually help my audience to be found, find me, and engage with them is much more powerful. So now let's move on to actually your audience, because they're the most important people here at the end of the day. They're the people that, pay our bills, pay our venues, and pay or, get in front of audiences like we have today. And they're super important people. And I'm a keen stickler for actually wearing your customer's shoes. If you listen to any of our podcasts or any other conferences we've done, I mention it at least once, because they're the people that we need to attract. And they're the people in that little sweet spot I shared with you earlier. So the key takeaway today in that is to actually always put their shoes on, think about what their challenges would be at the moment or what they're looking for online, because if they're not aware of your venue, your event, or the thing that you're offering, how are they ever going to find you? And if you just hit them bang in the middle with an ad of like, looking to book a wedding venue, come here today, they might not be in that sense of, in that mindset at the moment. They might be, higher up the food chain, they might be lower down the food chain in terms of that journey. So don't just think about, it's not just about demographics, it's about the other qualifying factors that those signals give away from that point of view. In terms of finding your audience, there's a huge amount of opportunity. And obviously I can't cover all of the social media channels in a 35-minute talk. Would be here all afternoon. But what I would say is use the platform ad function. Now, what I'm saying is not spend money, but go into the likes of Facebook, LinkedIn, and actually say, okay, my target audience is this. Go into the ad section and say, okay, my target audience is CEOs, financial directors, they're based in the UK, they work for this size companies. It will tell you if your audience is on that social media channel. So that will give you an indicator of what channel to be on and if that audience is actually there. Also, then you can do some searches. So if you're thinking about Twitter or Instagram, do some searches within the channel. So think about, okay, what would they be saying? So the landlord one, for example, is very hard to actually push on social media because, as I said earlier, they don't say I'm a landlord. Like I wouldn't say on my bio, I'm a landlord if I was one, and I wouldn't put it in any of my social media posts. So social media is going to be particularly hard. So the way I would go about that is very much thinking about the route I've gone down today, but then I would have my social media channels on my website, giving away lots of value in terms of hints and tips and video snippets, because actually when they find my website based on the blog content I've created based on their challenge, they're then likely to follow me on social media. And so actually I'm attracting them, which is quite unusual, but is definitely possible. At the end of the day, though, the better you know your audience, the cheaper they are to target in terms of money and time. Because when it comes to social media might be free, but it's one of the hardest platforms to work for any organization. Many people think, oh, well, it's really easy because my daughter does it, or, a student does it, I'll just get them to do it. I always say, don't use social media. Don't let anybody use social media for you or do it for you if you don't have a strategy, you don't have a plan in who you want to engage with, adding value. And just because it's free, don't think, well, I'll just, my son uses Facebook, I'll just get him to do it. Because if you wouldn't put that person in front of your customers face to face, you're doing exactly the same on social media by doing that. You're actually putting them in front of your target audience. And that is just as powerful as face to face. So really think about how that can add value to your organization and either take it very seriously, or it might be that you just park social media altogether. So we've covered an awful lot this afternoon, but I now just want to move quickly for the last couple of minutes, thinking about creating social media content that actually converts people. Now, I've shared quite a lot of hints and tips about this already, but in terms of other hints and tips to think about, something that's really important on social media and often, again, gets misunderstood is social media was created for humans to engage with humans. Now, lots of organizations go on social media and go, this is us, come and have a look. And if you engage with us, we're not going to engage back. Social media is all driven around people engaging with people. And if people engage with people or people engage with brands and they reply, then actually that is spreading your network. And that is often misunderstood because people go, well, I want people to like or comment on our posts, but we don't want to engage back with them. But you need to understand the real power of social media is people. So two-way communication is absolutely key. So let me just give you a very quick example of that. If there was a post that actually from one of your organizations that I found really engaging on LinkedIn, I might like, comment, might share it. If you're lucky, it's a good post, but generally if people are going to share your content, it needs to be really relevant to them. So I might like it, I might comment on it, but I'm only going to do that if actually it resonates with me and it's asking me a question and adding value. But if I do like it or I comment on it, what you've actually then done by getting me to do that in an authentic, genuine way is when my connections go onto LinkedIn, they see that. And then actually I am an influencer for you in engaging that content and actually driving more traffic to you. And 91% of people are influenced by their friends and family, or business connections. So if you want power, the power is actually in two-way communication. So in terms of two-way communication and human engagement, social media is very powerful. We've seen an awful lot of things launched in the last 6 to 12 months. You've got live video, you've got recorded video. Some of the platforms are playing catch up. But here is just a very quick example from Chester Zoo. So they create engaging content on Instagram. And if you are an Instagram user, the first thing you probably do when you get into Instagram is you click on the stories at the top, or if it says live, you go and have a look. That's where the engagement factor is. So they're creating engagement they're creating demand, they're staying front of mind, and this is behind the scenes with one of their zookeepers sharing insights. This is never, this was never possible before, or it was possible, but they weren't doing it. So it has a huge creating engagement, creating demand, and then actually driving bookings to other things that they could be charging for further down the line. Here is another example. This is from the National Trust, and this is about educating, inspiring, and then getting people to book something. So this is engaging people. So this is, again, a story on Instagram, because it's a B2C example. So they're saying, asking a question about the weather. Have you noticed the weather's changed recently? And it's like, yes or no. As humans, if you ask a question, we're very, our human instinct is to answer it. So you're going to get an answer. And then regardless of what answer you give, they then say, this is what's happening. And if you want to know more, then this is something you should do. So they're engaging, they're telling you something, but then they're actually driving you to do something as well. So very simple, but very powerful, and a very good strategy to think about. So in terms of creating and engaging and demanding bookings, make sure you're thinking about video content. You're thinking about when to post and what to post. You're creating polls. Polls are very good on a lot of social media channels as well. Using hashtags, engaging with others on their channels, and also using retargeting videos are also very powerful as well. But in terms of content production, as you've probably seen today, none of these posts were just like, oh yeah, that'll work, let's just do it. It takes an awful lot of thought and process. So you're better off to do something small, very, very well, 1 or 2 posts really, really well, than thinking about trying to create lots of posts, because actually less is more. And finally, just a tip on creating demand. Don't expect people to just book. I've covered an awful lot today in terms of people are not just going to book just because it's free. They're not necessarily still going to book. They need to have an enticement to book or exchange an email address with you. Make sure you're staying front of mind with value. Personalize that content and touch on their pain point, their challenges, or the queries that they may have. Use retargeting videos and also create demand. So this example here, you can see actually there's a countdown timer to actually book this event. And this was a paid for virtual event that was possible. But just in summary, a great social media post will always move somebody into saying yes to something. So whenever you're posting on social media, thinking about what do I want them to do without selling? So thinking about your objective. So if you take nothing else away today, always think about when you're posting on social media, who's my target audience? What is the best channel to interact with them on? How often I need to interact with them? What's the best channel to do that and when? And what do I want them to do when I've seen my content? And that might be engage with it. It might be sign up to something. It might be to read something. But all in all, don't have a sales mindset, because if you have a sales mindset, you're going to put people off, because nobody is on social media to be sold to. They are all on there to receive value. So if you have value and you have a clear call to action, encourage email signups, and that's a lot more powerful way to go. So I hope you've enjoyed my talk today. I want to give you just a little bit more value before we wrap up. We're going to give away 2 30-minute digital marketing consultancy sessions for free. All you have to do is visit this link here and we'll pick somebody random. You have until midnight tonight, so no rush to do it now. Just take a copy of the link, and if you submit, there's no pressure to do anything. If you want some free consultancy, you can use it for anything. So I hope today's talk has been useful. And while I take questions, if there are any questions, I'm just going to leave these resources up here for you. So thank you so much for your time today. If there are any questions, more than happy to take them.
Brilliant. Thanks, Lynsey, for a really informative session. Lots of comments on saying how much people enjoyed the session, and they've got lots of top tips and takeaways from it. Just a couple of questions to go through. What would be your top tip for a beginner that's starting out on a social media strategy for a venue or an event?
Good question. My biggest tip would probably be thinking like your end user, because especially as someone starting out, they think they just have to be posting content all the time. So less is more. When you're speaking to anybody about your organization, like if someone's inquiring or you're just starting out, think about what they're asking you and the challenges that they have, and turn that into content. That's the type of content. And when you're posting on social media, think about who your target audience is, what channels they are on, and how you can add value to them. Then sales and inquiries will come.
Great. Usually, in events and marketing budgets, social media and paid advertising is the first thing that gets kind of cut. How can we, encourage the use of free social media tools as such, rather than the paid advertising options, what would be the best advice there?
I think a lot of social media can be done for free. Obviously, it's free in a sense if you don't have to do paid advertising, but obviously it takes time. But organic social media can be really powerful. And I think some of the tips I've shared with you today in terms of creating blog content, creating video content, creating podcast content, all of which just takes time. If you create that, post that on social media and use the right hashtags, ask questions and share the content, that is the most powerful thing you can do in terms of for free on social media, because when those people are searching, you're not just creating social media content, but people find you through Google as well. So you're actually like really rinsing out, maximizing the time that you're spending, but actually not just generating business from social, but from online marketing as well, without paying for any ads.
Yeah, perfect. Someone's posted it on the chat. How would you get your sales team to promote your event?
Oh, well, I'm not a sales team expert. But in terms of your sales team, we get calls all day, every day, as every other business does, going, we've got, come and attend our event, da, 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 da. But I think it's almost like marketing and sales are often in two little camps. But I think if you join them up and really think about actually, how can we all work together? So really thinking about our target audience, what their challenges are, what problems they have, and actually how we can add value that way. It's not about sales, it's about value, but actually your marketing team and your sales team need to talk together, because if your sales team are talking to people, what insight are they getting back that actually they can then feed back to the marketeers to actually then do an even better job. But what I would say is don't ask your sales team to just promote the pants off your event on their social media channel, because it looks desperate and people don't like it. But the natural knee-jerk reaction to posting on social media is, I'm here, buy from me, or I'm here, book my event. And no one's on social media to be sold to. We're on to be educated, informed, or entertained. So always think about those three things, and then hopefully the sales will happen.
One other question that's just literally come in is there a different approach depending on the social media channel you're using? Obviously there is, but Instagram versus LinkedIn, you have to be different in conversational style. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I mean, every social media is different. There are things out there like Hootsuite where you can just tick the box and post on all of them. I would highly not recommend doing that. That Hootsuite's great for scheduling content, but every piece of content on every channel needs to be different. So if it's on Facebook, you need to post less on Facebook. So as an example, on Facebook, you need to post once or twice a week to get the algorithm working for you. On Twitter, you need to post 4 or 5 times a day, making sure you're using hashtags, but also engaging. Instagram, you need to be doing stories on a daily basis, and you need to be posting. LinkedIn, again, 2 or 3 times a week, are sharing content, asking questions, not using hashtags. So that's just an example of 5 platforms. I haven't even covered TikTok or any of the other ones. So take everyone differently would be my summary.
Perfect. And then one final question. What are your top tips on using social media during an actual live event like this?
For an event and venue as such?
As for an event, taking place?
Absolutely use it. I mean, it adds huge gravitas. Even when we were able to do physical events, if I couldn't attend a physical event, I would always be looking at the hashtag. There's people that can't attend events for whatever reason. I would always be looking on Twitter to see, what people are talking about and engaging with people, whether I'm there or not. So again, really have a plan in terms of whether it is virtual or a physical event. Make sure someone is on your accounts, engaging with people, taking pictures, live streaming some snippets. It might be that you do some little sort of, after party, after live event stuff on your YouTube live and your Instagram live as well. It can be used really powerful. And again, even if people are not attending your virtual event, there's still a lot of conversation going on those channels. So don't just go, oh yeah, we've got the event now, park social media. There will be people engaging on social media as well. So make sure it is absolutely embedded from start, beginning, and after your event.
Perfect. Well, that's it. Thank you, Lynsey. What a great way to wrap up a great 2 days at Venues and Events Live. Really interesting session. Lots of, comments on how interesting it was. We're going to put your link up on the main chat there. So anyone that's interested in the free consultancy, they'll get in touch that way. And yeah, that's a wrap. Thank you, guys.
Excellent. Thank you so much, and keep your spirits up in a very hard market.